proud to sponsor the Midnight Madness program.
Nice. This is the first time I've actually seen the beach ball. Whoa! Thank you very much for coming out, because tonight is going to be Sunday. So of course it's time for some blasphemy! With Hellbenders. Do we have any sinners in the house? One more time. Do we have any sinners in the house? Well, if you gotta sin, if you gotta know how to fight Satan, that's basically it. This is going to be a fun little departure. This is a rollicking, evil little comedy, and of course, it's in 3D. Woo! Our second 3D film this year, but I'm really excited to bring back a director. This is his third film in Midnight Madness. We've had him here for the notorious documentary Sandman. And then we had him back a couple of years ago with Burrowers. Let's just stop the ball for a little while. It's a little distracting, and all these innocent people are getting pumped in the back of the head. So we had Jinxie Petty back with Burrowers, and we're really happy to have him back, including a returning actor who has actually got another film here this year. And I believe that the director of our closing night film, John Dies at the End, Don Coscarelli, is here. Stand up, John. The story that we're talking about is Clancy Brown, but first, let's introduce you to the director of Hellbenders, J.T. Petty!
Howdy. I'm talking now? Great.
I'm actually going to say, truth be told, this film was invited last year. However, unfortunately, they weren't able to make it in time, so they had to pull it at the last minute. But the way that the invitation for this is behind the scenes, how programmers invite films.
Talking outside of class.
Talking outside of class here. JT came to my wedding in January, and I had lots of drinks, and I came up to him and I said, JT, remember that invitation I sent you last year? Just cross out 2011 and put in 2012, because there's no expiry date on that invitation. And then after the honeymoon, his producer phoned me up and said, I understand you invited the film, but you were drunk. And I said, yes, I was, but I meant every word. So I'm so happy that we got the film here a year later, and you've got some people you'd like to introduce us to.
Yes, absolutely. There's a young kid I discovered on my last film. This is Clancy Brown. And we have Dan Fogler. And one of our many demons, we have Jacqueline Matt. Okay, so yeah, I'll just do the obligatory thank you, but it's amazing to be here, and 3 times to make the same mistakes so consistently. And also just like a thank you. This is totally smoke up your ass, but like just like a thank you for doing this festival, because like it bugs the shit out of me that like it's so easy to see these movies now. But like you can see Titty Cut Follies, you can see anything Miike's made, you can like see all of this stuff, but it's always like on your computer at home or on a phone. And like these movies specifically want you guys and this screen and wants to be this kind of experience, and horrifyingly, this is like one of the few places now to get that. And so it's just awesome.
Time to reintroduce you to a bunch of filthy, filthy sinners and their ringleader, J.T. Petty. Nancy Brown. Jack over. Jack went back. That's good. So when I saw this just like 14 months ago, and it was really rough back then. But can we talk about what was the inception for this? Where did you come up with the idea? Because this is very different than all of your previous work. Different than Soft for Digging, Sandman, Burrowers. Why did you choose to go kind of with this?
Yeah, well, all my previous work is also very different from all my previous work. So this was the only one left. So I'm done now. No, I think I actually was with one of the producers, I think at a charity event in New York, and I was thinking, because there's sort of been a glut of exorcism movies recently, and I was thinking about the kind of cliche of, take me, I'll go to hell, and there's a little girl who lived. And like, thought about the idea of making that explicitly part of the plan. And once I started thinking about exorcism that way, it was kind of impossible to think about it otherwise. Because I mean, sort of the church takes awesome religious spiritual ideas all the time and institutionalizes them into something ridiculous. And then it became kind of impossible to talk about an exorcism movie elsewise. And it was so funny. And from there, it happened pretty quick.
And one thing is, you might have noticed in the credits, there was contest winners, runners-up for the footage, the exorcism footage. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, right from the start, we had like the interviews and the talking head stuff. We wanted to be mixing in found footage stuff. I mean, a lot of the movie, a lot of the idea was just to sort of not avoid any technique that we could use, just to be sort of as efficient and fun as possible. But I can watch found footage movies. I don't know if I'd want to make them. And so we had a contest through Bloody Disgusting where we sort of opened it up to fans and readers and sort of said, what do what would an exorcism movie that you make be like? What's the craziest thing that you could show? And we just have probably 45 seconds of footage in there, but we got, an hour of different kind of horrible things that people could do to themselves.
Any contest winners in the audience?
That's a really awesome question.
Submitters?
Submitter.
Yeah?
Yeah, one submitter.
Awesome.
And also, I mean, the obvious question is, why 3D? Why did you choose to go with 3D to do this?
Yeah, which is also like an obvious question because like 3D is so shat upon right now. Like people, it's like so cool online to talk about 3D as being shitty, which like pains me because like there are movies that are so much better in 3D. I mean, like Avatar's not a good movie in 2D, and it's great in 3D. Hugo is amazing. Cave of Forgotten Dreams. I mean, it's like I'll admit, like it's a minority of good movies right now. But I feel like most of what's getting made are movies that are like the post-convert stuff is obviously shit, and then the stuff where it becomes like a gimmick. It's sort of like you're using color like your Schindler's List instead of Vertigo. Right? Like you're being like, oh, there's a girl in a red dress, you're watching a movie right now, you're watching a movie. And like all of the 3D is all like ping pong balls and shit poking you in the eyes. And I feel like what's more interesting about 3D is actually just like treating the Z-axis as another realm of space. And the whole idea that you can actually control interocular. So you're creating depths that are impossible to perceive in real life.
That's why I did this movie. What are you talking about?
That's a better answer.
Which will cut to why did you choose to get back in?
Why did you do this?
The interocular thing, the Z-axis with the interocular.
It's spiritual.
It's the spirit.
God told me to fuck with the
Interoculars for Christ. That's what I was saving the Z-axis for Jesus.
So you wrote this role for Clancy?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was really fun to see you just let loose on this thing. This is like, no one lets you do that enough. And I just thought it was tremendous, and I think people are gonna have to bust out a dictionary for most of the foul things you say in between all that. But
how many cocksuckers? No. No, how often do you get to say, you know, only Mammoth and J.T. Petty can write that kind of...
and Seven Psychopaths for everybody who's heard that.
There's a poetry to it.
Do we have any questions here for the audience? Let's see. No. B. Yes?
I just wanted to ask Jack Holder, how did that brick that you were punching, is that foam brick or is that real actual?
Was the brick foam or was it real?
That fucking brick was real, man. And I was methoding that punching.
There's no Foley in that scene. That's all production.
Knuckles crunching on rock.
You should see the brick now. That brick looks like shit.
Powder. And we ground it to powder and then we snorted it and then we shot another 12 hours.
Yes?
Was there any hijinks on the set? Anything just to sort of keep things moving, keep things light, improv, anything like that?
Actually, how much of it was improv, or was it all just straight from the script?
There's a little improv in there. I banned with improv a bunch. And there was some, but I mean, it was such a tight shoot, there wasn't a whole lot of time for improv. I mean, I would have loved to have done more. And we were all happy. I mean, I have a giant crush on this entire script, or on the entire cast. So there was a lot of just like sitting around being like, man, it's really great watching, you know, Andre Arroyo and Dan and Clancy talk to each other. So we were always happy, but were we hijinksing much?
You mean, other than fucking him into a puddle?
We did open a giant flaming vagina hell. For a while there.
Yeah.
We closed that open.
That's hijinks.
It was weird, it was really weird.
Yes, on the side there.
Rabbits? Wow, that was a new low.
Hello?
That's actually my rabbit. She likes it. Oh, that's my brother-in-law, who's like ex-born-again fundy, like raised in a sort of commune kind of place, and anytime, so basically all of Clancy's dialogue, I'd be like, I need like good things to curse about, and then he can quote almost the entire Old Testament. So we'd start, he'd tell me like the 17 rape stories from the Old Testament. And he'd be like, oh, in the kingdom of Shechem, they tricked them into getting circumcised without thinking about it, and then attacked them while they were bleeding from their crotches and killed the whole place. I was like, oh, that's good, that's good.
Very impressive.
Yeah, so
It's the DVD extras, right?
What else?
Light doubly shy.
Can't really see because of the lights. Anyone up there? Yes, on the side.
How much of the religious background stuff did you already know, or did you have to do a bunch of research to kind of formulate that stuff?
I mean, I spent some time in Catholic school, but I like reading about that stuff. My brother-in-law was definitely a huge help, but a lot of that is just sort of reading the Bible. It's an awesome book. Like literature-wise, I like the New Testament more than the Old Testament, but the Old Testament's a lot more entertaining. And you get into the stuff there, there's just like amazing stuff to draw from.
Why did you choose Clifton Collins? I mean, we don't often see him.
We see Clifton Collins all the time.
But as a lead, as a lead, it was...
Yeah. I mean, Clifton's just done like fantastic work all the time. I mean, him and I want to say Peyote, but is that writer? Capote. Traffic, or I mean, just like he shows up. He was the best thing by far in Sunshine Clean. Like any time that he shows up, you recognize him. You're just like, oh shit, that guy is so good. And the entire cast, I was always thinking of like number one, like they're not very good exorcists, and so like they have to sort of have a fair amount of charm outside of that to be like really bad at their job, but still just effective humans. And then on top of that, like I wanted everybody to feel like we kept talking about blue collar exorcists, right? But like these guys, it's a job. And actually there was two ministers that I hung out with a while before this. And it was just remarkable how much they talked about it as a job. So I wanted to make sure they all felt very kind of like grounded in blue collar and real. And like all of these guys, and Clifton and Andre and Macon and Robin, like they sort of have that feeling about them of like people who are working a job.
I know when Michael Bay did Pearl Harbor, he had to get involved.
Where is this going?
When he did Pearl Harbor, he had to get involved with the Navy. I'm just wondering what your involvement with the Catholic Church and God was in that.
Full support from both of them. They make me powerful when I'm doing their work.
And yes, the back there.
With the horror genre, how important do you feel it is to have some sort of unique twist or gimmick in the storytelling? Like having an interview type shot process or...
oh, like stylistically?
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly don't want to be making the same fucking horror movie as everybody else. But I do think that genre in general, like you've got a lot freer hand in terms of that sort of stuff. Like and audiences in general, I feel like are a lot more sort of savvy than they've ever been, and especially just the way that we ingest all media now. That I think there's no reason to kind of restrict what you're doing. Yeah, I think it's just sort of whatever fits the story best. It's probably the simplest answer.
Like the comic part?
The comic part?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, it's so, like, the Clint equals cunt joke wouldn't land anywhere else. So. In the Avengers movie, he was kind of...
All right, we have one last question. In the back there, yes.
I was going to ask what's going to happen with the movie. Is it going to be released theatrically, or is it going to go, what's the path for it now?
It's gotta be huge.
That's the thing is, often a lot of the films that you're seeing here at the festival, these are the world premieres, and sometimes they haven't, it's the first time distributors are seeing them, so it's, this is up for sale. So stay tuned and see what happens hopefully by the end of the festival. And yeah, tell your friends. I mean, and the other thing, I mean, thinking back to the introduction, I mean, this is probably the biggest time you're going to see these films ever. And it's really interesting how the way that we are consuming films, it's just killing the experience. And people don't seem to understand that this is what it's about. It's about seeing it big in a room and people reacting. At sitting with 1,200 people reacting is different than sitting. Does anyone's couch fit 1,200 people? Level 5. I mean, so.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is what the experience is intended for, and we're losing it.
All right, well, thank you very much. Let's hear it for Hellbenders.